Hello and welcome English 10 peeps. We are looking at Unit 1, Inside the Nightmare, as usual, and we are focusing on the fall of House of Usher, which was broken to days 3 through 8, Monday and Tuesday. And right now that's how that appears in Schoology. I think I'll be adjusting it slightly so it makes more sense. And you'll see, it will look great when that happens. As for now, Fall of the House of Usher is our text that we're reading. To finish reading it was the goal on Thursday. For those in-class students, the feedback on online assignments was due Friday. And then you have a handout and has the story tied to the essential questions. Both of those were due in class as well. So the handout, as you can see, has been submitted by 2 people so far. This is where you analyze craft and structure of the text. Anytime you get a handout, your job will be to fill in the answers, but first read all the questions, read the examples. Everything you need is right here. So this is a handout that covers craft and structure first, and then also covers use of a semicolon. So there's 2 sections and 9 total questions. The first 4 are about the Gothic literature. And Gothic literature is known for imagination, freedom, intense emotion, as opposed to reason or restraint, supernatural events that defy logic, ghosts, monsters, multiple narrators, plot lines, symbols, themes. It's generally dark and gloomy with a mood and that kind of mood and tone, and then complex dramatic language. As you can see, Poe loves complex dramatic language. It's also full of cheerless, tormented characters, outside narrators, and there's often mystery, fear, and terror, because those are the ways to provoke the deepest emotions. This type of literature emerged in the late 1700s as part of the Romantic movement, so think Frankenstein, Dracula, but also you can include Dickens in there, who writes a lot as well. He has paragraphs and paragraphs to say what we could probably sum up in a few sentences. So that's kind of what the Romantic movement was about. It's about beauty. It's about a lot of description. So these questions are to be answered about the fall of House of Usher. Your job is to use textual evidence from the story to support your responses. So you're going to need to be able to open the text. So if you didn't already save as a bookmark your ELA 10 book, you'll want to pull that out. So mine is here, but it's also all the way back in Unit 1. I'm going to open link in a new tab so I can keep both open. In the resources folder. And anytime you forget where we are, you can just look back here. We're in the resource folder. Before that, we were in Unit 1. And we have the textbook PDF here, which will open just like the one that I downloaded. The other one you can do is the online interactive textbook. And so I'm pulling that up for you so you can see. If you follow this link and these steps, you'll be able to access our text here as well as in the PDF. So this is English 10. You'll click the drop down if yours is not clicked to follow the My Perspectives ELA National Grade 10 link. The grade 10 book is the one with the I. If the grade 10 book doesn't show up right away here, just click the green browse circle and all the books show up where the I with a zipper. Once that opens, yours is the interactive student edition with the orange box. Click that. Follow the arrow. Once the text is open, you will be reading the whole class reading, and we are in Unit 1, so luckily this opens directly to Unit 1, so we're in the whole class learning section. Scroll down until you find the fall of the House of Usher. Click that. And this is awesome because you have a reader who will read the text for you, but also you have the opportunity to annotate. This has already been highlighted and highlighted blue with notes. And I can read my notes. It's a Gothic example. So you can take notes on anything. For example, we were just talking about how there's, let me quote it exactly. Dark, gloomy mood and tone and complex dramatic language. Oh my gosh, is there ever a great example of that? In that very first paragraph, that lasts forever is dark and gloomy and so dramatic. There was an iciness, a sinking, a sickening of the heart, an unredeemed dreariness of thought which no goading of the imagination could torture into aught of the sublime. Oh my goodness, so dramatic, right? He's like, I love it. So, again, I could highlight that blue and say, Gothic example. And I'm even going to go back to the handout and use what it said. Dark, gloomy mood. Copy that, Control C, or 2-finger click, copy, your choice, all the way back here, paste. Beautiful. So, using the handout where it says, use textual evidence, we now have the text open. So, here's the fun part. How do tone and language of the Fall of House of Usher match the Gothic model? Oh my gosh, we've already highlighted some examples of how it has dark, gloomy mood, tone, and complex dramatic language. Beautiful! So what I would do, if I were you, I'd copy these questions, potentially even the whole shebang, just because sometimes I want to look at it all at once. And I 2-finger click, and then I open a Google Doc. Blank. I hit the plus for a brand new one. And I'm going to paste. 2-finger click for paste, or Control Z as in victory. And boom, there's my worksheet right there. So going back to number 1, how did the tone and language match the Gothic model? I can say, wow, the mood. Whoa. I Controlled Z. Sometimes you need that. The mood and tone are dark and gloomy. There is a sense of darkness. And I already said darkness. There's a sense of doom. As well as dramatic description. And all I'm doing is taking this concept right here and explaining it and giving an example. For example, paragraph 1 says, comma, and I like to put my quotes in first and then paste in the middle of them. You can do whatever you like. I'm going to go back to the text where I've already highlighted, and I'm going to go steal it, 2-finger click to highlight, click on that, copy, going back to my Google Doc, and right between those two quotes, paste. Sometimes it pastes exactly how you have taken it with the formatting. One way to undo this, Control Z, is to right click and click paste without formatting, and it should provide what is quote normal text. Boom. So it fits in with what you've already done. Another way to do that, Control Z, I'm going to undo, is if you paste it straight like that and it looks all wonky because you've copied it from somewhere else, you can click normal text up here, and it will often take you back. Sometimes you have to do it more than once because sometimes it looks not perfect yet, and then I click normal text just one more time and it will take you back to what you see here. So there's my example, and I'm done with number 1. The tone and the language match this, because here's the description and then here's the example. What are some examples of events that defy logic in the fall of the House of Usher? Well, shoot, there's magic. What else did they say defied logic? Including ghosts and monsters. Oh shoot, there's a ghost. The sister shows up at the end. So I go back to the text, and I'm going to zoom to the end of the text where the sister tackles him and he dies. A whole section I've already highlighted. This is when the doors open. There was blood upon her. Oh, the figure of Lady Madeline of Usher. There was blood upon her white robes. The evidence of a bitter struggle. Wow. some example of some ghostly things. Other examples that come to mind are like, I'm just thinking about what else seemed ghostly, what else seemed creepy. Were there sounds? Were there images? Were there moments in the text where something was creepy? Those are all examples that you could use for this handout to answer question number 2. So, same thing, copy it, paste it, explain it. 3, find an example of multiple narrators in the fall of the house of Usher, who is telling the story. And then 4, overall, how good an example of Gothic literature is the fall of the house of Usher? Is there anything that is missing? So we go back up here. Is there anything from here that's not used? Or is every single box ticked here? These were boxes. That's 1 through 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The last section is different. It's about semicolon usage. So, in a sentence, a semicolon is used to join independent clauses that are not already joined by a comma and coordinating conjunction. So, to remind you or to teach you, independent clauses are clauses. A clause is essentially a sentence. You've got your subject and your verb. You could end the sentence there. It could stand alone. So an example of a clause is, she went to the store. Another clause is, she found what she was looking for. You could combine those two independent clauses with a conjunction like and, but, or, nor, for, so, or yet so. She went to the store, comma, and she found what she was looking for. So that's how clauses work. A semicolon can do the same thing without the help of one of these words that joins them together, which is called a coordinating conjunction. In some sentences, a second clause begins with a conjunctive adverb, such as also, however, therefore, similarly, or instead. In other sentences, the second clause begins with a transitional expression, like, for instance, on the other hand, or after that. So when you have these kind of key words, you're often going to jump into a new clause, but first you need a semicolon. So, directions. In each sentence, insert a semicolon where needed. We already have this copy-pasted, so don't worry about that. Roderick suffered greatly. He was mentally and physically ill. Where should the semicolon go? Well, we know Roderick suffered greatly could stand alone as a sentence. He was mentally and physically ill could stand alone. So the semicolon must go here. What should come after that semicolon? And we can have any of these transitional words like also, however, therefore, similarly, or instead. Do any of those fit? He suffered greatly. Therefore, he was mentally and physically ill. Or similarly, he was mentally and physically ill. Instead doesn't make sense because these two do go together. So either therefore or similarly, both work. In other sentences, the second clause might begin with, for instance, on the other hand, or after that. So could you say, Roderick suffered greatly. For instance, he was mentally and physically ill. Maybe. Roderick suffered greatly. On the other hand, he was mentally and physically ill. I would say no, because, again, these are connected, so I wouldn't use a word like, or a phrase like, on the other hand, because that's showing two things that don't go together. And the last one after that. Roderick suffered greatly. After that, he was no. So, out of these three, I think the one that makes the most sense is for instance. Otherwise, also, therefore, or similarly seem to be the ones that make the most sense. So I would take one of them. Roderick suffered greatly. Also, keep it simple. He was mentally and physically ill. Oh, and then you're done. So that's how simple it is. So step 1, figure out where the two clauses meet, because that's where your semicolon will go. Then decide what phrase or word should go after that semicolon. So that's 5 through 9, semicolon usage. This is a something that will take you a little while, so make sure that you give yourself time to do it. Alright, there's our handout. Next assignment. How does the story tie to the essential question? Just like always, handle that with a post and replies. And then move into Tuesday and Monday, you have a comprehension